in the last 2 weeks, IRCC has changed the whole game. They have issued 21,000 invitations, which basically means this is now leaving the door open to everybody below 470s, 460s, even distinct possibility of 450s and 440s. And why is that? Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Kubeir. I'm a CICC licensed immigration consultant. This channel is all about Canadian immigration news, updates. This is very, very exciting. Let's talk about the provincial nomination allocations and its impact. And then a lot of provinces have been, fighting or discussing or trying to advocate for more quotas in their nomination, especially Ontario. Ontario has been after federal for a very long time, wanting to double their quotas. Yes, let's talk about the quotas and targets. Alberta's PNP allocation for this year, 2023, is 9,750. This was increased from 6,500-ish that they had last year. So almost a 50% increase. Manitoba's PNP allocation was also about 6,250 or something, and they have been increased to 9,500. Again, almost a 50% increase. Ontario's PNP allocation for the last year, 2022, was about 9,750. That has been increased to 16,500, 40% increase. Yukon PNP allocation was roughly 250 or 300. That has been increased to 400. Now, for other provinces, I do not have the numbers because they haven't announced exactly how much have they been increased by. But obviously, there has been a total federal PNP quota increase to 105,500, which was about 25,000 more than the previous quota. So therefore, it has been given to all the provinces. So all provinces would have received an increase in their allocations, increase in their nomination quotas. As I said, other provinces haven't announced. Now, why this becomes so important? This becomes so important because provinces have always been advocating of wanting to invite people based on their market requirements, their market conditions, their labor shortages, their priorities. Because at the end of the day, what does a PNP program mean? PNP program means that they are inviting people who they believe will remain in their province, live in their province, help their province grow economically, number-wise, in every which ways. And therefore, they are choosing to invite that person or give that person a nomination. By that nomination, that person obviously gets invited into express entry if it is linked to express entry, or can apply for PR directly to federal if they're eligible, of course. And that is how this whole PNP program works. With this increased numbers, obviously, they are now going to be able to invite more and more people. But how does this become even more important? Let me take you further there. Now, what has happened here is, let me make this bigger. This is the allocation of Alberta for 2023. They have on the, otherwise Alberta doesn't give out a lot of information, but in this case, they have actually announced their nomination plan for this year. And they are saying the non-express entry stream allocations would be 4,875. So they've absolutely cut it into half. They said half for express entry and half for non-express entry. The express entry stream and pathway allocation is 4,875, which is pretty cool because there they have family connection and occupation in demand. Now, family connection and occupation in demand is a very interesting one. This is basically for people, family in Alberta, which basically means your sibling, your parents, if they are currently living, residing, permanent residents of Alberta, and if your occupation, your primary occupation, is also considered as in demand by Alberta, even if your score is 300, you can get invited by Alberta. Now, you cannot do anything to attract this invitation except to enter your information correctly in your express entry, indicate the correct information about your parent, your relative, your sibling. And then if you find a favor with Alberta, then you will get invited directly. The next one is an accelerated tech pathway. Under the accelerated tech pathway, they have about 30 to 35, I don't remember the exact number, 30 to 35 knock codes that they have identified as under that particular stream. Now, the requirement is that either you have to have a job offer from an employer in Alberta in that stream for you to be eligible to apply. You are eligible, you create an expression of interest, you get invited, you get the nomination. Pretty quick, pretty fast, very, very efficient program stream that they have. But that also means people whose knock codes are there in the Alberta tech pathway will otherwise not be included in the other streams because they already have a tech pathway stream. So that's what it is. The sector priorities. Now, the sector priority basically is everybody else who does not fall in these two streams. So even now, a lot of people get luck by chance, kind of an invitation from Alberta. They get invited. And those will be the ones who will be falling in this 2,437. Now, for the first time, they have actually indicated what will be these knock codes, not exactly the knock code, but the indication of which industries they would be. So if you were ever interested in being invited from Alberta or getting an invitation from Alberta, and if your occupation code is in healthcare, construction, agriculture, hospitality, and tourism, then make sure you choose the right knock code which falls in one of these categories. And even if your score is 350 plus, 300, 350 plus, then even then you will have an opportunity to be invited by Alberta. Now, as of right now, 1,711 nomination certificates have already been issued in 2023. So you know that there is still a lot of room left. Moving onwards, Ontario's nominations. Now, what happened with them is what they have told us instead is what they did with 2022. And this is the nominations that they have issued by stream, totaling 9,750. If I calculate these numbers, even Ontario has given out nominations of more than 50% to people in the express entry streams and less than 50% to people with the non-express stream. In 2022, they have a total allocation of 9,750. 6,149 nominations were issued to express entry streams. 2,370 of these express entry nominations went to the human capital priorities. The reason why I'm giving you all these numbers is because I know so many of you out there are absolutely on the tenterhooks waiting for the human capital priority draws to happen. Okay, so this is very important to understand how they are choosing, what they're choosing. That way you know what the realistic hope you might have. So let's talk about this. 2,370 nominations have been issued to the human capital priority stream. This was in 2022. In 2022, the total notifications of interest that they issued out, 13,057 notifications of interest were issued. And out of these 13,057, 4,012 notifications of interest were issued to human capital priorities. Now, what these two numbers basically means is 4,012 notifications of interest were issued, but only 2,370 nominations were issued. It basically means out of 4,000 people, roughly 1,700 people chose to not continue with Ontario. Either their express entry scores were high enough, so they didn't have a reason to go with Ontario, or their application was refused or rejected, or they just simply abandoned their application or withdrew their application. So these were the reasons. 1,700 of those notifications went down the drain, basically. 2,370 were selected or were the nomination. Now, this year, let's talk about this year, right? Because these all give you perspective. These all tell you that now the nomination quota has increased to 16,500 for Ontario, which is an increase of nearly 40%. So the expected nominations in express entry for this year in comparison to last year. So last year, 6,149, I add 40% increase. That tells you that in express entry, Ontario will be issuing 8,700 nominations. And therefore, under the human capital priority stream, the number of nominations being issued would be roughly 3,318. Okay, let's say 3,400, give or take, right? As of right now, in 2023, they have already issued 7,128 notifications of interest to express entry. 7,000. Last year, in the whole year, they issued 13,000 notifications of interest. This year, they have already issued 7,000 notifications of interest, almost half of what they issued, rather more than half of what they issued the whole of last year. Out of these 7,000 notifications of interest that they've issued, 3,539 have been issued to human capital priorities stream. Okay. You see the numbers, they are very funny in terms of they are valuable when they give you the information. So last year, 4,012 notifications of interest throughout the year were issued. And this year, 3,539 to the human, I'm talking about human capital priority stream, HCP. This year, already in the first 3 months, they've issued 3,539. Why this number? Why am I stressing so much about on these numbers? The reason for that is when they did conduct the human capital priorities stream draws, the express entries CRS score was very high, 490, 491, 489, those kind of scores. So everybody who was receiving a notification of interest from Ontario wanted to grab it and go with it because express entry seemed absolutely not going to happen or inconsistent or uncertain. But in the last 2 weeks, IRCC has changed the whole game. They have issued 21,000 invitations, which basically means almost everybody who were issued a notification of interest from Ontario human capital priority stream now have no reason to continue with Ontario's human capital priority stream because, hey, they have received their ITA directly from IRCC. So which basically means a lot of these notifications of interest that they have already issued are going to go down the drain. People will either decline them or not continue with them or abandon them or withdraw them or not take that nomination because, hey, they don't want to take the nomination. Most of you will want to get your $1,500 back because why not, right? So these numbers are really, really amazing when they give you this kind of an insight. What that basically now means is that now with the score of 481 in express entry And with majority of the human capital priorities guys not wanting to go ahead with the nomination, this is now leaving the door open to everybody below 470s, 460s, even distinct possibility of 450s and 440s. And why is that? I'll tell you that. When Ontario started conducting their human capital priorities draw, this time they deviated from last year. This time they have concentrated as normal with the tech draws, because IT tech is still quite high in demand in Ontario. But instead of doing a general priority occupation draws, they instead started concentrating on the health draw or healthcare workers. Now, healthcare occupations, they started inviting dentists, physiotherapists, nurses, doctors, veterinarians, all health occupations, regardless of whether you have a license to practice in Ontario or not, or regardless to practice in Canada or not, which was brilliant, because these category of occupation, because of the licensing requirement, did not have a chance in almost any province because of the licensing requirement, because none of the provinces gave them that opportunity. But Ontario is now doing it. Now, last time when Ontario conducted a draw, and they conducted a draw right until 460s something for the health draw, what happened was that they found only 800 people within that category limit, which tells you that there were not too many healthcare workers who either had a hope with Ontario or were in the express entry pool, which then tells you that next time Ontario conducts the human capital priorities draw under the healthcare sector, the scores can drop into low 460s, even 450s high up, and therefore giving a lot of you out there an opportunity to get through, which otherwise seems unlikely at this point of time. This is what makes it brilliant. Not only that, a lot of people who are under the tech draw, under tech occupations, even those can have incredible opportunity, even if they were scoring 450s, 460s, because now the next time Ontario conducts the human capital priorities draw, it will be 480 and below. Okay, because 481 is already a cutoff with express entry, so they will be choosing 480 and below, and depending on how many people are in the express entry pool at that point of time and how many invitations they want to issue, they will be drawing out those people. I also anticipate, as we move forward, that most of these provinces will be changing the way they do business, in the sense like once Bill C-19 is implemented, and in Bill C-19 IRCC itself will be conducting occupation-based draws, and then if provinces are also conducting occupation-based draws and they match this, it's the same thing, then the provinces basically lose out on their on the uniqueness of wanting to invite people. But it will then basically means a lot of categories will get variants. Some provinces will choose certain occupations and categories. Federal will choose other occupations and categories. And this will just create a better, wider network of who is inviting, who are getting invited. And a lot of low scorers will have a great opportunity there as well. So I'm quite excited to see how this program and how the variance in the program plays out, because all of this looks very, very hopeful, very promising for so many of you out there. Remember, Canada still wants to bring in 485,000 new immigrants this year, going up to 500,000 moving forward. This is what keeps it very, very exciting. Well, connect with us on social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, of course. And if you're looking for an appointment to discuss your queries and concerns in person, then again, that is also the link that you can consider. And stay safe, take care, and I shall see you next time.